So we have Andy here, who's a pre-K teacher. Where do you teach?
I teach in a public school in Flushing, Queens,
Okay.
New York City.
Yes. How long have you been teaching?
This would be my 11th year. I actually don't count last year because it was like all remote, but I mean, I should count it because it's kind of influenced how I've approached this year.
How did you like the remote? Was that challenging?
It was extremely challenging thinking about like trying to keep a 20 something 4-year old engaged online and just finding ways to keep things entertaining for them and fun. And funny enough, Clixo actually had a big part in that as well.
Oh, okay. You want to tell me about that? I'm curious.
So there's like during when I was like told I was gonna be doing remote against my will, I knew like going into it, it's like, oh, it's not ideal for our young kids to be in front of a screen for however long it was. And I wanted to make things playful, but not all of our families have access to the same things, right? Like materials, like basic things, art supplies, pencils, markers, crayons, even like, glue and scissors. And then if you think about toys, that's even more difficult for a lot of them to get their hands on the same things. So through Donors Choose, I was able to get basic supplies for them, books, and every one of them a set of Clixo toys.
That's amazing.
So like when we were actually able to like meet together and build things, they would be able to share some of their own creations. And the theme of it was like we're playing apart, but also together at the same time with Clixo.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, how was it more like instruction or kind of like free play?
Free play. Some of them would. So I would give like a sort of like a building prompt, and if they can use any toys they have, and some of them use Clixo, some of them use like toys that they have at home. But I encourage unstructured free play.
That's great. Yeah, I definitely find the same. I have two young ones. One just turned 4 and the other 5. And my oldest did pre-K last year over Zoom. So that was very challenging. But we didn't have, like the toys like it's incorporated as much, which I think probably would have gone a lot better and more enjoyable for everybody. I think, like you said, everybody was kind of like thrown into it without any like instruction, and it was just like, okay, so how do we teach? Let's just try it, and we all rolled with the punches. But I mean,
I call it uncharted territory. That's
of course. That's awesome.
And I wanted to also keep it true to pre-K.
Yeah.
Like my own classroom when we're in person is play-based, and I wanted to do the same thing for them at home. Now, a lot of parents, it may be difficult for them to like, oh, what are they learning?
Right.
It's like they're learning a lot if you're just letting them play on their own.
Right.
They don't get to see that in the classroom when they're in person, and just how much they develop over the course of a year. But with them being at home and the parents being right there, and sometimes like, they may be frustrated because like their kid may be too loud and they're trying to get work done on their own. And for the youngsters, it's so like hands-on, the parents have to be there with them. Now I had a lot of kids that were able to log on Zoom, Google Meet on their own. So some of them would show up like on time early and they're like waiting for me. Those like, I hear learning loss a lot, but not enough learning gain in reference to last year. Think about like all the skills that our kids have developed if they were online,
right?
Remote. So you gotta take a step back and take a look at it from like different, I guess, perspective.
Yeah, right. I agree, and it was, I think, challenging, especially for everyone, because like we felt so disconnected, just not having even like the socialization in person. But we are so lucky to be back in school this year.
Yes.
And just seeing everybody flourish, and so excited. And I hope that everybody's as excited they are for this year for school, like continuing on for the rest of their school
well,
life.
For a lot of my students now, it's their first time in school. So you get a lot of the crying.
Yeah,
That
right.
You also realize that they were like 2, 3 years old when the pandemic began, and there's a lot of things that they were not able to experience because they were at home most of the time. And there are some of the things that we're noticing about the development in terms of like whether it's physical or emotional. Those are the kind of things that we're looking out for, and we're doing our best to just make sure, like, we're there for them,
Right.
parents, if needed. So
Are you kind of seeing things like improving like throughout, the school year so
oh,
far? Or is it-
definitely
oh, good.
compared
Okay.
to like the first month,
Yeah,
and
right.
just getting them excited about being in school is the number one thing that I'm more concerned about. Just
Yeah.
and I think we're having a pretty successful year so far.
That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear, and like knowing that both of my kids are in kindergarten and pre-K as well. It's just like it's heartwarming to hear that they're enjoying it and having fun, and like it's more play-based. Our school is play-based as well. It's
That's wonderful.
School of the Arts, and I am all for it. They're kids, they should.
Not many schools take that approach though, and it's sad because they're so young.
Yeah, right.
My students, right?
I agree. Like, we were kind of like torn between one school, which is more structured, versus the arts base that we're at now. And speaking with a lot of other parents, they were like, "Oh yeah, I want my kids to be more like disciplined and learning based."
Right.
And this is like same age group. Like, again, my oldest is 5, and my youngest just turned 4. And I'm thinking like, wow, like loosen up a bit.
Especially coming off of the past like 2 years that we've been in there.
Right. Yeah.
So
They should have like fun time and let kids be kids. So and you're also a parent too. So tell me about that. How old are your kids?
so I have one that is 3, almost 4, and
Oh,
he was able to get into a threes program.
nice.
That's like the city recently rolled out
Yes.
3K,
Yep.
and my son was very fortunate enough to get into one of the programs.
That's great.
He's doing well, but there's also some behavioral challenges, and I mean we have to work on that. But then I also have a 18-month-old who is him being there may be affecting the behavior of my older one. Lots of jealousy at play here.
Hmm.
Looking for attention, so you gotta take the good with
Yeah. I remember that. Mine are 20 months apart, and there was this period of jealousy, but you'll get your rhythm, even if it is like 18 months later.
Yeah,
So that's so sweet. Are they both boys?
they're both boys. Yes,
Okay, so they're gonna be best friends
I hope so.
with occasional fighting.
Oh, I don't even think occasional. It's gonna be like every other day.
Yeah, you should see our house. There's, we're in a very small apartment, and we have a Boston Terrier on top of it. So there's a lot of energy coming up through the floors, and our neighbors love us. Okay, so why don't you tell me like what are some of your favorite things to do as like a family? Like, do you have any hobbies?
We so I'm very fortunate enough to have my parents help us with the kids, and their home is like literally walking distance from the local botanical garden, the Queen's Botanical Garden, and we love taking our kids there. Like I normally don't sign up for like memberships to things, but like the Botanical Garden is one that I felt was like very worth it, just to be out. One of the other things that I love to do is like being outdoors with my kids. Um, I actually led 2 seasons of Tinker Garden, the outdoor nature play-based class, and just getting kids out is such a big positive thing, that I want to encourage my students as well. So my older son took a garden buds class at the Botanical Garden
Oh, that's
recently.
cute.
So just being outdoors is one of
Yeah,
the
I
favorite.
love that. I totally agree. Like living, in the city, we have so many things in our own backyard, and you having just a wonderful garden, you kind of have the best of both worlds. So
Yeah,
that's really wonderful. Do you go to the park a lot too?
yeah, I try to, but like with daylight savings and ending, and it getting dark at like 4:30, it's harder and harder.
Right.
But on the weekends, we make the best of it.
Yeah, of course. Do you find it challenging to kind of like balance your work and home life?
Very.
Yeah.
um, Especially last year when I was remote. I feel like the work never stopped. At least when I was in school, once the building closes and I leave, that's it. I can't do much without my classroom. But when your classroom is online, it's like it never stops. And then even like just sleeping, I'm thinking about what I can do and make things
Just
better.
keep them entertained.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
tough.
think that mentality kind of paid off for this year because I'm incorporating more of what we did online into the classroom now. Um, I in the previous years, I've had my reservations about kid technology and early childhood, but after being all remote last year and just having technologies immersed in my students, I actually became an adjunct at a local a college to teach modern learning technologies. And a lot of the research that goes along with technology in early childhood is like, it has to be quality materials that you're presenting to your children.
Hmm.
We're doing that here. So I'm
Oh,
finding a balance.
with your pre-K kids.
My pre-K kids,
How
yes.
are you doing that? I'm curious.
So we used to, when we were remote, we would have like a feelings check-in
Okay.
just to like check in them and how they're doing. And they would at home they would move like their feelings and things like that just to get an idea of what their mood is coming into class.
Okay.
We're able to send that to parents this year and have them do it with their kids before coming in. So sometimes I would see that, oh, a child is sad before they came in, and then when I greet them at the door, I notice you're sad today. What's going on? Just to be there for them. So
That's so
something like that
amazing.
is a feelings check-in. Um, I've I've incorporated a lot of puppets in my remote teaching, and I've brought them in here as well. So a lot of the technology stuff that I'm doing to present to our families utilizes a puppet to help teach skills. So I have a puppet that's that's based off of our cafeteria worker.
Okay.
He brings lunch to our kids every day. They know who he is. So I made a puppet. That's Mr. Rashid. I call him Lil Ra.
Love
And
it.
I did a video with the puppet showing kids how to open like certain breakfast items, snack items, and lunch items. And we'll send it to the parents so they can watch it with their kid. And this was this week. And I was able, because myself and my paraprofessional have been opening milk containers this entire year so far for kids. And they are, what? I can't blame the kids. It's hard to
I have
open.
a hard time too.
And like, I got to find a way to make it easier and then just like invest in how to like getting this idea started. But with the video, I was able to demonstrate how to do it using the puppet. And then families actually watched it. And then like a kid came in, opened the milk by themselves, and they showed it to me. I was like,
Oh my
and
gosh.
that's like that moment's like, yes, it's working out. Like,
That's amazing. I gotta say, like, whatever you're doing, like, keep up the good work. I don't get to hear about these things. And like this sounds like, the basic skills of life that these kids need to learn. And you're like incorporating like education into it and like making it so fun. Like your school is very lucky to have you.
it's interesting because like I'll do demonstrations in the beginning of the year how to like open certain things like live in person. Kids don't care. They
Right.
don't like they lose focus.
Uh-huh.
And it's like whatever. I show them the video, like they've watched it with their parents. Some of them told me, oh, I saw that video with my mom. And then I showed it in school and they're all just like glued to it. It's like the screen, right? They're just
Mhm.
glued to the screen. If it turns on, it's like, oh, what's that? And they're just like gravitating towards it. But then with
Right.
the video and the puppet that they know who it's based off of, they're just like listening to it and watching it and just taking it all in. So
So it sounds like I think we all kind of run into this problem, like as far as like technology and screen time and just being like kids, but you kind of have like this sort of balance that you've worked out. Like, do you kind of take that home with you as well, or how do
with,
you
with
how
like
do you
with
get
my
your,
own kids, I mean.
yeah.
So okay, going back to like the class I taught,
Mhm.
I was reading some of the research, and like our educational television really educational, and there's like certain programs that have shown to be educational. So I'm very conscious of what to show my own child, and I gotta, since having my firstborn, right? I going into like being a parent, I was like, oh yeah, no screens at all, and then it's
We
like,
all say that.
yeah, yeah, and then the magic of Baby Shark, right, comes on. A child's quiet. My wife can cut his nails. We can
Yeah.
feed him, and it's like, wow. Sorry for criticizing all the parents I've had in the past that allow their kids to be immersed in screens. I totally
Right.
understand, uh, but then like I'm more conscious of what to show them.
Yeah.
Uh, my son is obsessed with counting in numbers, and it's thanks to like this Netflix show called Number Blocks.
Okay.
I've sat through it and watched it myself, and I like, oh, this is actually very educational. He's learning a lot from the show.
Mhm.
And then there's also PBS Sesame Street, which
Yeah.
is very very good. So um, I'm I'm just, I guess, an educated person in terms of like what
Yeah.
to show my kids.
Mhm.
And then I want to also bring all that research and somehow relay it to my families that I'm serving as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we all kind of strive for the same thing, and then like maybe like a show here or there is a treat, but I totally agree. Like any bit of education, and the shows now are so like not what we grew up on. Like a lot of counting and numbers involved, and even coding, and it's
Yeah.
really amazing to kind of watch and hear them yell at the TV, and it's like, okay, we're two birds with one stone right now. So yeah, that's great. And by the way, I didn't ask, what are your children's names?
The my 3-year-old's Liam,
Liam,
and
okay.
18-month-old is Asher.
Asher,
Yeah.
very cute. Are
Thank you.
you still using Clixo in your classroom, or was it
I
more
I am. So the reason why I love Clixo in the classroom is because of how compact and mobile it is, but also I have the younger kids, right? And it's also easy for them to use. I mean, I've seen some of the posts on the Clixo Instagram of like
Mhm.
the complex builds that some of the other kids have been creating. I'm like, oh, I can't even do that.
Right.
Then, but my kids also love it because it's, it's magnetic. It has like a sensory component to it. Just hearing that click and just like ripping it apart and just like snapping it back together. And then it's an easy cleanup. I have a magnetic wall, and then it's like, oh, it's
Oh,
time to
that's
clean up Clixo.
great.
Just toss it on the wall. Doesn't matter how bad it looks. It sticks. We're okay.
Oh, that's
Every once in a
awesome.
while, they'll get my students will get fixated on putting the same pieces together to clean up, but it's great because like if they built something and they want to put it away and they want to keep that build, just stick it on the wall.
Yeah, yeah, just to look at it for later.
Yeah,
A piece of art.
yeah.
Any fun or crazy creations that kind of like struck you as, whoa, where did you come up with that idea?
Um, no, it's very basic so far. It's like the crowns,
Okay, yeah.
the necklace, and then what they do with it, right? So it's like I had a few that made a necklace, a ring, but then they also kind of like change the idea to like a doctor and their stethoscope. So
Okay, I
a
love
lot of
it.
like dramatic play ideas that come out of it as well. So that's and that's something that I want to do later on, where it's like if they build something that can be used in a different center, like the blocks, dramatic play, or some sort of art, they can take it with them and then put it back when it's done or when they're finished with it.
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks for sharing.
Cool.
I don't know, do you have any questions for me? Like being a maybe an older parent, since my kids are a bit older.
Does it get easier?
I heard that before. Uh, in what way? Let's see. I think it just changes.
Yeah.
It's always changing, and I can't say yes. Right now we're kind of in an easy
Mhm.
spot, but maybe just because I've learned to understand them better and like what makes them tick or what, sets them off. But yeah, I mean, I can't really say it's gotten easier, but
Just
I
other.
love them.
I remember when Liam was just born,
Yeah.
and thinking like, oh, I can't wait till he's this age, so I can do this with him. I can't wait till he's this age. Now I was like, oh, I wish she was back at the other age.
Right.
Remember just
And it
being able to
happens
play with
so
him.
fast.
Yeah, it
And
is.
what's Liam's interest? Anything right now in particular?
He likes numbers and buses,
That's right, numbers. Oh,
uh,
buses.
and he's getting into like the puppets as well.
Okay. Oh, that's cute.
And then we have Asher that's like following suit with the buses, and it's like we take him out. We live in a very busy neighborhood with like there's like it's like a terminal in Flushing is like a terminal station
Mhm.
where it's like you got a whole bunch of buses going into different parts of Queens, the 7 train going into Manhattan, the Long Island Railroad going from Port Washington to Penn Station. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of action going on, and you walk him down to go to Botanical Garden. It's like he can't say bus yet. He's like ba ba ba. God, he can find everyone. Sometimes we're in the car. It's like, how did he see that one? It's like, where is he seeing this bus? And then the bus comes. It's like, oh wow, it's
A lot of exciting things happening.
yeah.
It's so funny. And poor Asher has been around since the beginning of the pandemic.
He was actually born during lockdown.
Oh my gosh, that must have been very scary. How did you guys manage that?
We were freaking out. Like
Yeah,
we were hoping, hopefully this thing ends soon.
right. Yeah.
May and June of 2020, and it's like, oh, you're about to pop soon. Like, how's the hospital situation? And then like
Yeah.
the mask and everything. I was like, oh my goodness, it's like, and props to like the healthcare workers, like
Right.
just being there since day one and taking care of like people that were sick, people that were pregnant, and it's very thankful and grateful for the people there that were at the hospital.
Yeah, of course. And Liam, he's doing okay. It's kind of like the norm now.
Yeah, he's been he's been used to it since the beginning. He sees us with the mask on, and it's funny because like there was one time we walked out. He didn't forget he forgot his mask, right? And he walked out, and he's like, "Oh no, my mask!" And then we're like, "Okay, calm down." I was like, "We'll go get it." And
It's amazing. They're like better than the adults at wearing them. Sometimes if I walk out the door and I forget, and it's like, Ma, you forgot my mask. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Thank you.
yeah, they're very good.
Time, I feel kind of bad. Like, I hope we don't have to do this much longer, so. But yeah, it's challenging. We're going to do the best.
Got to give it props to my current kids right now too. They've been really good with the mask.
That's great.
Sometimes I'll need to remind them mask over nose, but for the most part, it's been and knock on wood, something we've been pretty safe so far. So
yeah, same. That's great. I'm happy to hear. I like these happy stories.
yeah, too many negative stories.
Yeah,
To highlight the positives.
I agree. Well, thank you, Andy. Is there anything else you wanted to chat about or any questions for me?
I don't think so. I mean,
No?
if there's any other opportunities like this, I'd love to sit down and chat again.
Yeah, I love this. Like even just, as a parent, like hearing about like some things that you do when I need ideas, and of course, likewise, keeping our kids busy.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a real pleasure. And like I said, I think your school is very lucky to have you. Some of the things that you're doing they sound above and beyond what, I hear what goes on in the classroom. So that's really great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Same. Likewise.
All right. Thanks so much, Andy.
Take care.
All right. Bye.